to jump right into it. I've been looking into the society sessions on YouTube, and I love it. I absolutely love it. What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, originally Society Sessions started out as parties / concerts. I actually hosted one in London.
When was that?
In 2016. So I used to like / concerts that I threw across the globe that were kind of designed to give the underground a platform and to just really, I wanted to create like a safe ass space for creatives and people who really shift and mold culture, because as you know, as who I am in my career, I've gotten the opportunity to work with like a lot of very, very established artists. And what I found was that the top tier artists and like pop culture and all this shit pulls from the underground, you feel me? And they pull from like the kids that are creating and setting culture. So it started as parties, and then I wasn't able to host parties because of the fucking quarantine. So I started to like talk to some of my friends. And I just decided to talk to some of my friends about creativity, because I feel like so many creative people who kind of haven't taken the leap to pursue their dreams or whatever, they don't know that everyone's just a human being, you feel me? And a lot of the times, like, we don't see like the behind the scenes come up and shit. So I wanted to show people that.
That's sick. And speaking of the come up, what was your come up like? So you grew up in Germany and then you moved from Germany to DC, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how did moving from Germany to DC compare? Because Germany's a hella liberal, artistic, not to say DC isn't, because both are, but difference in culture, I can imagine. So how was that adjusting?
I was sent to like the suburbs in Maryland, the DMV, because I got into trouble in high school. So
in Germany you got in trouble?
Yes. So you can like imagine the transition between Berlin and Berlin and being able to ride the subway and like all that shit to being sent away to the fucking suburbs with school buses and like so I mean, it was definitely not culture shock, but like a shock for me, because in Germany, like, we start a lot of our party habits and all this stuff very young. And
that's Europe, I think. Europe is like that.
Yeah. And I think that I was so like in Berlin, I went to an international school, so all my friends were like kids of artists or kids of just like bilingual artsy kids that fucking you know. And so going from that to like kind of this cliquey high school environment was definitely like a shocker, but I appreciate both places.
Yeah, because you're originally Haitian and Moroccan, right?
Yeah, where are you from?
Yeah, I'm Algerian, so I was literally gonna be like, the North African is there. No, but it's sick. Did your culture influence, I guess, your like artistic and creative side as well?
I think so. I think it influenced it in the way where it's like I never really fit into any type stereotype or any type box. I always kind of related to everything. And so because I never fit into any specific one culture, any specific one thing, my way of connecting was through learning how to connect to everything and finding a home in everything. And I think the way that impacted my artistry and my creativity is because, like, you know, now I feel like I'm a very diverse creative. You feel me? I'm not afraid to venture into areas and lands and shit that I haven't been. So I feel like because I grew up so mixed and like shit, like it made me a lot more diverse and a lot more like kind of courageous and like where I go in, like, you know, my creativity, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
You know, 100, it makes so much sense. I guess your open-mindedness as well. That's incredible. So from DMV, when did you decide to make the move to LA?
I graduated like right after I graduated. Like for me, high school was a big, big struggle. Like I was very, you know, the people that support me know that, like not support me, fit like the people that have been following me know this. But high school, I was very defiant, and it was a struggle for me. And I think I was that way because I had a lot of like trauma and stuff like that. But right after high school, I was ready to go because I had an ultimatum, and the ultimatum was to go to college and kind of do shit the traditional way or to get the fuck out, basically. So,
Was that from your dad?
No, that was from my aunt.
Okay.
Yeah. I got sent from my dad's to my aunt's. So from Berlin to Maryland. My aunt's a doctor. Dad's an artist.
So very traditional, the traditional way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I must have been a shock.
Yeah, I just like right after high school, I was like, man, I'm out. It's been real. I'm out.
That's brave. That's actually brave because you're what, 18 years old? 18, 19?
I was like, at like 18, 19.
Yeah, so to make that step and just be like, you're out, did you have like a security blanket to fall back on moving to LA, or literally was like, just fuck it, I'm just going?
I had like some people I knew at Los Angeles, and I always pride myself on my judgment, my judgment of character, because I did not grow up so sheltered. Like I grew up very exposed to the world, and because of that, I feel like by the time I was that age, I had a very, very good judgment of character. So it was people I knew, but I knew I felt like it was safe enough to do. And I think that when you're just like suppressed for so long and you're told so long, like for such a long time, that you are, your dreams are not enough, your talent is not enough, and you're being forced to conform for such a long time, like into the school system and into the belief system of people who may or may not have dreams. Many of them don't, right? So it's like, if I have a dream, I'm every day confronted with adults who do not, or who gave up on their dreams, and I have to conform to this mentality because I'm a kid and stuff. I think at that point I was like, I couldn't. Like I literally was like, I don't give a fuck. Like I'm out. Like I don't care.
That takes some hella courage though. Do you think that courage, you grew up with it, or it was just something that you nurtured along the way just due to your experiences?
I think that like it looks courageous now in hindsight, but in the moment it looked like I was running away, and I think that in hindsight now people are like, oh, it was very courageous, and I'm so grateful that people feel like that. But at the time it was like, that's not, for me, there was no other option. Like for me it was like,
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, for me it was like it made sense. Like if it's like, if I am born into a musical family, my father's a musician, right? I've used music as my outlet since I was 2 years old, and every single day of my life I make music. I don't do my homework. I don't listen to my parents. Like the one thing that I do is make music. Then the most rational decision is not for me to go to college if I haven't been doing well in school since I was the fucking second grade. The like rational decision is to go try to make music. And I think that, I knew that going to college would be a decision that I'd be making out of fear, because it was so like unrealistic for me. Like it was like, I never got straight A's. Like I never even had A's and B's on my report card. You feel me? Like by the time junior high school, I had 180 something unexcused absences. Like I'm not going to but go to school.
I think so many people deal with the pressures of just conforming as well. So it could be due to culture differences as well. Like culturally in a society where like your parents probably are just known for going to university, get a job. They don't want to see you do anything different. Has that kind of translated into your music? Because even like the political themes in your music, it's so like it's so rebellious. That's what it, like, from when I see you, I just see rebel. I see rebel in how you write. I see rebel in your music. Like, what are you rebelling against?
I think that for a long time growing up, like, defiance was a defense mechanism. And it's my way of dealing with my sadness. And it's my way of dealing with a lot of things. So at first it started out with me rebelling against, like, society, quote unquote society, like every teenager, right? You're rebelling against people who tell you that you can't do what you love. Like, you know, and it's like you're being told that from all different directions every day. So that was my sense of rebellion. Like, this is to anyone who's telling me that I'm wrong for pursuing what I love or doing what I love instead of doing what they feel like is socially acceptable. And that included teachers, and to me, my parents, and that included like I used to get to argue with my teachers, like, about the school system and about, like, you guys want me to sit here and just take this information in and you don't even care about what you're teaching it, like crazy shit. Like,
yeah.
But
You were that kid in school. You were that kid in school.
Yeah. But when it got to a point where, like, I'm at now, or like a little bit more, you know, a little bit more accepted because I've kind of proven myself to a certain extent, I think now I'm rebelling now. This might sound like very Cody deep-ish, but I think I'm rebelling now kind of against my I've learned that you don't have to fight everything, and now I'm really rebelling against my old self, the old me, like my old, like, ways. Like, I'm a fighter. I was born, like, I had to fight a lot growing up, and I'm now rebelling against, you know, my old habits, all the shit that, like, the person I was when I was a teenager, the person that I was, you know, growing up, I no longer have the need to fight those same fights and to fight those same battles. So now I'm learning, it's so crazy, how to rebel against that bitch that's in my head that's like, spaz right now, spaz, bitch, flip the table, bitch.
That's
spaz.
probably the hardest battle, though. Battling yourself is the hardest battle by far, because that's a conditioning, you know?
Yeah, it is. It's hard, but it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard if some of the habits that you learn to survive, you know? Like, it's like some of the qualities that I have, my fight, my readiness, like, I'm so ready to say what the fuck I think, you know? Like, all of those things are things that I needed to get through, and, like, through high school, through, like, the loss of my mother, through, like, fucking life, bro, through life. And it's hard now because I don't need that. Sorry.
Yeah. No. This is like something I've heard a lot from a lot of artists and a lot of songwriters, a lot of creators. Sometimes the best art comes from like a raw pain. Would you agree with that? It comes from just like, you know, trauma. It comes from really difficult situations, and it's just kind of bred through that, and it's just this like release on paper of just kind of what we all want to hear, but just done so beautifully. Would you agree with that statement?
I think a lot of great art comes from pain. I think a lot of great art comes from happiness. But what I do think comes from pain, true authentic pain, is feeling. And I think that there's like vibrations in voice. There's the way in which somebody plays the music. There is choices that you creativity that come from that can only be made through feeling. And I think that you feel that feeling through pain, through having and through being human, like you know, through being a human being and feeling pain and like being vulnerable and being those things. So I think that some great art does come from pain. I think that now we're kind of in a time where you know, it could be misconceived a lot. Like, oh, just because I'm talking about like painful shit now, my art is great, or what I think is painful shit, my art is great. I think that you know,
like
feeling,
emotion, like almost, like
and the
almost
pain.
forced emotional.
Say that again.
Like forced. Do you mean like almost forced emotion?
Yeah, forced. like forced emotion, like thinking it's cool to like
To
be in
be in
pain.
pain.
Like, I like, I'm
Like,
not gonna
yeah.
lie, like I've created shit, yeah, like a song Sunshine. Like I've created music that truly came from a place of like real, true darkness because I, you know, whatever. But there's a fine line, you know, between creating that and then kind
Mm.
of creating shit that you feel like should be like painful when really it's I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
making sense.
It's like I get completely what you're saying. It's almost like I think especially in this generation we've almost romanticized pain and
Right,
how
you
it feels to feel in pain.
right.
So no, I
Romanticize.
agree. But yeah, no. So going into the music and the writing. So for all those singer-songwriters that wanna get up, what's your process like? So how do you sit down and write a song? Do you start with lyrics or do you start with melodies?
I think that as my intuitive process is like something I call, I just named it this, but it's like the freestyle method. So
Okay.
my process is to just kind of start singing, and that comes from what I would do when I was a little girl. Like my father's a professional guitar player, and
Yeah.
after my mother passed away, my mom passed away when I was 6 years old. It was very hard for me
Mm.
to process my emotions, let alone express my emotions. So
Mm.
what would happen would be like my dad, the way in which I would express my emotions very subconsciously is like my dad would start playing and I would just start freestyling stuff, and that's kind of how he would identify what was going on or how I was feeling. And
Yeah.
so it started off, it's like my initial process for creating like real shit and making sure that I'm making shit that is coming from my experiences and things that I've seen is like that freestyle method. But as I practice my craft more and as I become more advanced as a songwriter, I'm trying to pick up different methods. Like I have
Mm.
learned how to do like scratch melodies. I constantly am looking for new words. I'm constantly trying to learn different ways to approach creativity because yeah, it's
Mm. For
just
those who may not know what scratch methods is, can you like elaborate on it a little bit more?
like scratch method is like, let's say you have two writers or whatever, or one writer, and you go in and you just lay down a bunch of melodies, and then from the melodies that you lay down you cut out 8 bars of each section of the song and you put them together. So kind of like piecing together a puzzle, but in a lot more strategic uh, way than like the freestyle method where
Mm.
kind of like next line, next, like every line I'm trying to come up right there, you know. I don't know if that makes sense, you know, but
Well, no, 100%. And for
yeah.
those who may not know, but I'm sure people, if people know Bibi, they know this, but you are behind some incredible songs. Like for example, Rihanna's "Bitch Better Have My Money." How did that collab even come about?
Well, it happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
But through Kanye, honestly, like
Mm.
I got introduced to Rihanna's project through Kanye, and I wrote some songs on her project, and then continued on to write for people like Camila Cabello, write for people like Christina Aguilera, continued on to do stuff with Selena Gomez, Demi Lovato, anyone. I don't know if you saw that
Yeah.
performance, but um,
Yeah.
you
The
know,
one on what was it on the
the,
award show? What award show was it?
the Grammys
The Grammys, bro. That was
is,
emotional. That was emotional.
yeah, it
No,
was. So
do you ever feel almost like I don't know, like a juxtaposition in your personal, like this is your art. Do you ever feel a way sometimes to give it away? Is there ever times that you
100
just feel like, oh, I really want to keep this for myself, or I don't feel right giving it away?
always, always, every day of
Oh
my
my
life.
gosh.
I But again, that's me battling like the old me because it's like, bro, like the root of me, the core of me, really, I sometimes feel like too real for the world. You feel me? Too real to function in this fucking society. So it's like the essence of who I am is like
Hmm.
super fucking really like unfiltered, very, very, very raw and does not, I truly, like, there's a side of me that does not give a fuck about whether or not I'm even causing a train wreck, as long as it's like to me the truth or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of that has to, like, me fighting that is also kind of me fighting the old me, because there is still a system set into place, and there are, you know, there are powers that be, and like all these things. And I understand now that a lot of success has to do with strategy, and I understand now that you cannot just, you have to pay it forward. You have to pay it forward. You have to pay your dues. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just the cycle of life, the way shit goes. So, 100%.
Does that scare people? Does your rawness and your, I guess, just no fucks given attitude kind of push people away? Like, I'm talking like you're saying, the higher power that be, because one, your music is so political, which all of a sudden can be like, oh, maybe she's too woke for us. Especially, like, you know, with, like you're saying, when you're saying you're too real for the world, it's hard. Like, I personally have this theory that men can be political. Men can get into the charts being political. You can have a Kendrick, you can have a J. Cole. But for women, it's a lot harder for women to be vocal and political and have major success. So do you feel like it can be almost like difficult to navigate?
Yeah, I think that people are scared of everything, and I think that we live in a society that is very sensitive to shit. Like, people are very sensitive. Like, they're very deathly afraid of opinions. They're deathly afraid of any opinion that doesn't agree or coexist with their opinion, because of our technology and because of algorithms. They're afraid of people who don't smile. Like, because they want to be liked, and because of their,
especially for women, it's like they like the dumbed down version of a woman. To be really on that pedestal.
But I think that, like, people have been afraid of me since I was like cis. People have been afraid of me since I was 8. And I should say afraid of me, because that may come across as like, oh,
aggressive.
No, but like, bro, I don't mean it in that way. Like, I mean, like, literally, like, I've had teachers that when I was 17 years old, like, grown teachers be like, no, I can't talk to her. I can't have her in my classroom. So it's like, I'm not, I come across so many inspiring people, and I come across so many inspired people, and those are the people whose frequency and who I'm interested in learning and communicating and talking to. I don't want to even be friends with people who are scary. All it does is like reinforce negative thoughts and make me afraid. Like, you know, like, if the people who are afraid of me because I say some shit, it's like, nigga, that makes me scared. And like, I'm not trying to live my life like that. Like, I'm good. So it's like, there are people who are intimidated by the things that I say and stuff, but there are also very many people who are inspired and who I'm inspired by, and that's 100%. Who I give a fuck about. Like, I really don't want to waste my life. I really don't want to waste my life. Like, you know, I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it 100% does. I think it goes back to like your slogan for society sessions. It's like honoring artistic integrity, you know, and that goes across life. So it feels like surface almost scares you. Like, stay away from all the surface shit.
Yeah, it's not like, it doesn't. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, I really appreciate purity. I really appreciate authenticity. I appreciate real shit, bro. Like, that's it. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm trying to say shit without knocking the other side.
You're trying to tip somewhere.